Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar on scholarships today. My name is Josh Antis. I'm in the Community Relations Department at California Coast Credit Union, and just want to welcome you. Hope you're doing well, staying safe out there and staying healthy. We're excited to talk scholarships with you, but before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Everyone will be placed on mute for the duration of today's presentation. However, if you have a question, you can enter it into the chat, and we'll be monitoring those and answer those as we go or at the end of the presentation if need be. And if you'd like to actually come off of mute, you can raise your hand. I'll be on the lookout for that. You can raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and we'll hit some stopping points here as we go along. So we'll try and answer your question if you want to actually ask verbally rather than typing it into the chat. But so we'll have that going. And we also have, at the end of today's presentation, we have a survey that you'll see pop up. It's an evaluation survey. And if you could take the time to fill that out, we appreciate it. It just gives us feedback on how we're doing, especially in the virtual environment. Want to make sure that these webinars are something that you are, that are a good tool for you. And we want to know how we can improve if we can. So we appreciate you taking the time to fill that out. A couple people I'd like to go ahead and introduce now. Today we're partnering with Sallie Mae, who has been a partner of the credit union for a long time. And in particular, we have Thalassa Naylor and Ventries Shanklin here from Sallie Mae. Ventries is going to be kind of monitoring the chat. So again, if you have questions, feel free to enter those in and she'll answer those for you. But our main presenter today is Thalassa. She's actually worked as a financial aid administrator in a past life at several colleges and universities, but she's spent the last 25 years working in student loans and student finance. So we're excited to have her to talk to us today about scholarships and free money, because who doesn't like free money, right? With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Thalassa.
Great, thank you, Josh. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's presentation on scholarships, finding free money for college. As Josh said, my name is Thalassa Naylor. I'm a relationship manager for Sallie Mae, and I actually started my journey in the world of financial aid as a financial aid recipient. I got work study. It landed me a job in the financial aid office, and from then, the rest of my career has been in this field. So it's a wonderful and rewarding field to work in, and I'm particularly happy today to be able to provide you with some information on how to get some free money for college. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera, and we can just focus on the presentation. Again, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and then I'll also be available at the end of the presentation for some additional Q&A if there's any additional questions you might have. So I want to preface the topic today by letting you know that this particular presentation was designed primarily for high school juniors and seniors and undergraduate students. But I know that some of the people attending today are upperclassmen, graduate students, or you may be returning to school adults. So I want to make sure that I also address your needs. And we will also be including opportunities for Q&A. So even if you are not a freshman or a sophomore in high school and you are already a college student, a graduate student, or a returning adult, go ahead and stick around, because some of the information presented today will definitely be valuable for your unique journey. So today we're going to talk about college costs and how scholarships are going to help you cover those costs. There's a variety of different scholarship resources we will share with you, and we're going to touch on scholarship search engines and how easy they are to navigate. And also, you'll learn some strategies on creating winning scholarship essays, and lastly, some tips on applying for scholarships. So let's start with college costs and how scholarships can help you offset some of the cost. Here is some data that was gathered by the College Board on average cost of college in 2019. So the cost of college includes a combination of what we call direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are those paid directly to the school. Those would be things like tuition, fees, and housing for students living on campus. Indirect costs include some other relevant expenses for college that are not paid directly to the school. This would be things like room and board off campus, books and supplies, transportation, and other relevant expenses for college. In 2010, the average, 2020, the average cost for attendance at a community college was $18,420. We're fortunate here in California that tuition and fees are free for many students and very low cost for others. So the primary expense around attending a community college in California is just the indirect costs. Public four-year institutions for an in-state student run about $26,500. If you attend a public institution out of state, that cost may run you around $43,000. And for a private school, the cost is closer to $54,000. Keep in mind that these are national averages, and you will find variations by state, school, and even program. Private schools can run even up to $80,000 or $100,000 depending on your school and your program. Graduate programs tend to be more expensive than undergraduate programs. The place for you to find cost of attendance for the institutions you're interested in attending will be on the school's website. So this is typically housed in the financial aid section, but sometimes it's in a program-specific section. So you can always search for the cost of attendance, and you'll find it broken out on your school's website by these categories. So how are families paying for college? In Sallie Mae and Ipsos' annual survey on how America pays for college, we found the average breakout to be a variety of mixes. Again, for those of you who are graduate students or returning adults, this is primarily a breakout for undergraduate students. Your portions will be much more self-funded rather than having the parent section in there. But again, this is just an average that every family will have a unique mix of where their college resources will come from. So when we look specifically at scholarships, we see that they are playing an increasingly important role in helping students pay for college, with 58% of families reporting that the student got some form of scholarship in 2019-20. The largest portion, 64% of scholarships, come directly from the college. 29% came from state or local government, and 27% came from external sources. And before I go any further, I do want to mention the importance of the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. Almost all scholarships that come from state or local governments will require that the applicant have filed the FAFSA. And the same goes for most scholarships that come from the college, and even for some portion of those that come from outside sources. So most all financial aid at every institution is going to require that the student file the FAFSA to be considered. So here's a little bit of information about filing the FAFSA. Let's assume you're a senior in high school and you're getting ready to apply for financial aid next fall, 2021. You would be looking at the information in the green box on the right. So you fill the application out now, and you use the information from you and your parents' tax return for 2019. And you might be wondering why information is used that's nearly 2 years old by the time you start school. Well, the assumption is that most people's financial situations stay relatively stable over time, and there is a lot of data to support that. However, with COVID, things may have changed. You still need to use the tax year that is defined in the application, but then you can let your financial aid office know if there were changing circumstances that you'd like them to consider. So filling out the FAFSA will produce what's called an estimated family contribution, or an EFC. This is sent to the school, and if you're an undergraduate student in California, it's also sent to the California Student Aid Commission for consideration of Cal Grants. This number represents a family's relative financial strength, and it's used to determine eligibility for need-based financial aid. So the higher the EFC, or expected family contribution, the higher the family's financial strength. Thus, the lower the eligibility to receive need-based financial aid and scholarships. In my next slide, I will show you how that works. So these are some terms that are used in financial aid. We talked about the cost of attendance. You saw the slide that had the average cost of attendance last year for different types of schools. Then when you fill out the FAFSA, you'll get back something called an EFC, or expected family contribution. The school will take their cost of attendance, subtract the expected family contribution, which will leave you with financial need. So you can find the FAFSA at www.fafsa.gov. So now I'm going to dive into scholarships. Let's talk more about what scholarships are, who is considered, and where you can find scholarships. So as you know, scholarships are free money. They're financial aid awards that do not have to be repaid. So some scholarships can cover the entire cost of tuition, or it might just be a one-time reward of a few $100s. So either way, it's worth applying for because anything will help reduce your costs. So when should you apply for scholarships? Every scholarship is going to be different, and each one will have different expectations for the qualifications. So they'll have their own deadline. Some deadlines are as early as a year before the school starts. So seniors and juniors in high school, you can start researching now and applying for scholarships. The summer before senior year is a great time to start. But if you've missed that window, say you're already in college, you're a graduate student, you're a returning adult, there are scholarships that are available all year long, year round for any type of major, for any type of student. So it's never too late to be looking for scholarships. Some of them don't even have deadlines. They just have rolling award seasons until they find the right recipient. So the scholarships are definitely not just for incoming freshmen. So each scholarship is also going to have its own requirement. So some will require an essay or some other kind of submission that showcase your talent or skills. For example, when my son was applying to architecture school, he had to provide them with actually a portfolio of his art. So depending on what kind of scholarship you're looking at, they're going to be looking at different kinds of requirements. So they might even ask for a video or a recording or letters of recommendation. So you can read the application very carefully, read the website carefully, fill it out completely, and make sure that you meet your application deadline date. So here's the best thing about scholarships. You don't have to be #1 in your class or a star athlete to get free money for college. Some scholarships are based on academic achievement, but not all of them are. You can see things here. They could be financial need, community involvement, organizational membership, sports, talent or skills, leadership or school activities, ethnicity, religious affiliation, and sometimes even parent affiliation, their jobs, a club or activity may be a place that you can find scholarships. In fact, there's even scholarships out there for people who are left-handed. So there's a lot of places to look for scholarships. The greatest number of them are offered directly through colleges and universities, but there's a lot of private scholarships offered each year as well. Thousands of them offered by schools, employers, individuals, private companies, nonprofit organizations, communities, religious groups, and professional and social organizations. You can ask your family, friends, if their employer or any organizations they are involved in offer scholarships. If you're employed, ask your employer if they have a scholarship program. A really great resource for local or community-based organizations, if you're in high school, is your high school, college, and career counselor. They will oftentimes be looped right into some of the ones that they're aware of right in your local community. Most counseling offices have and publish a list of scholarships available to graduates of their high school, residents in the community or state, or more. Another really great resource is admissions and financial aid offices at the college in which you're interested in attending. Many times they have information on a website. They may have a specific page on scholarships or even a special scholarship office. So you can go to that section of the website and see if they've got some resources available for you. And sometimes you can find scholarships within the department that you're looking at. There might be a program specific, like I mentioned, my son going to architecture school. It's a program specific kind of scholarship, and they'll have information within the program itself on that. So there's many types of scholarships available. You just need to do your research and look for them. One way that this can help you a lot is by using a scholarship search engine. It can do a lot of the work for you. So scholarship search engines are really easy to use, and you might wonder what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share a little bit more about this. So scholarship search engines aggregate a list of scholarships and allow you to be matched up to scholarships based on a personal profile that you create. So once you create your profile, As new scholarships are added to the database, you'll be notified of the scholarship opportunities that match your profile. So a few important things to think about when you're using a search engine: make sure you keep your profile up to date. So whenever you have a new grade point average or a new activity or club or organization that you've joined, community service or volunteer activities, make sure you add that to your profile so that it continue to fine tune the search for you. This is not, again, just for your junior or senior year in high school. You can register at any time during your college career and update your profile with GPA, activities, and organizations that you're involved with during college, or if you change your major. And as I mentioned, scholarships in these search engines are not just for incoming freshmen, it's any stage of college. So there's a variety of search engines. These are some of the most popular. You've got Sallie Mae's scholarship search, which provides over 6 million scholarships worth up to 30 billion. There are also 950,000 scholarships worth 1 billion just for graduate students. FastWeb is another popular scholarship search engine. Be sure that if you use FastWeb, you might want to think about setting up a separate email account, because FastWeb does sell the email addresses to other organizations that they think might be able to provide you with things of interest while you're in college. If you don't want to get all that spam in your regular email box, you can set up your FastWeb in a different email address. Big Future by the College Board is another really good resource. So these are 3 really good resources. Sometimes people want to know if it's okay to do more than one scholarship search engine, and you absolutely can sign up for more than one. There will be a lot of overlap, obviously, with Sallie Mae being the biggest one, probably has a lot of the scholarships on FastWeb and Big Future, but there may be a few that are in some of the other ones that aren't in Sallie Mae, or vice versa. So search engines can help narrow your search and guide you to the perfect scholarship based on your profile. So what you should be doing is looking for scholarship tools that are free. Never pay for scholarship applications, and we don't recommend that you pay someone else to help you find scholarships either. Make sure the search engine keeps the database up to date. So Sallie Mae does validate the scholarships. We ensure that they're up to date. And also look for special features. For example, Sallie Mae's scholarship search tool has a calendar feature that lets you know deadline dates so you don't miss out on any timelines. You can also find ratings that are provided by previous applicants and recipients, much like product reviews when you're shopping online. And you can take advice from students that have applied previously for the same scholarship. You'll get email alerts of new scholarships that match your profile. And you can also use your mobile device to find scholarships. So it's really easy, accessible, always on hand. So since I'm most familiar with Sallie Mae's scholarship search tool, I know that you build a profile about yourself by telling the school all about you. The tool will then search the database for scholarships that are a good match for your profile. You register for free, you enter your interests and activities and groups, and you get matched up with scholarships. So Sallie Mae's scholarship search tool helps you create detailed profiles so you can be matched with multiple opportunities. So the more detail you put into your profile, the more effectively the scholarship search can match your interest to your appropriate scholarships. So Sallie Mae does save and store all the detailed profile information for future reference. There are some scholarship search engines that require you to fill out a new profile every visit, and that can be a little bit frustrating when you're a busy college-bound student. So here is what some of your matches might look like. This is an example. So with Sallie Mae scholarship search, you get a personalized account, which will alert you when a new scholarship opportunity matching your profile becomes available. And you can also easily share scholarships with friends over social media if you know they're looking for scholarships. You can sort scholarships by amount. You can sort by deadline date. And that way you can decide maybe you only want to apply for the top 10 that have the biggest dollars available. Or maybe you want to just spend a certain month applying. So you want to look for scholarships that have a deadline now or into the future. So there's different ways that you can sort your data. After you've been matched with possible scholarships, you are going to need to do a little bit work. Just getting matched up with scholarships doesn't mean you'll receive them. Now you actually have to apply for them. So each application will have its own criteria, but many are going to require some type of an essay. And if this makes you nervous, I'll spend a little bit of time giving you some tips on how to get started and have the right things in your essay. So if at all possible, you should start early. You need to give yourself a lot of time to work on this. Take the time to make sure you understand your donor's mission and purpose so that you can tailor the essay to their organization. Read and follow the instructions carefully. Make sure you follow all the necessary steps and review before submitting scholarship essay. So trust us, some of the best and brightest students have missed out on a chance to earn scholarship dollars because you neglected to follow the instructions. So create an outline to organize your thoughts. This can be a list of ideas, then start to regroup them in order of importance to tell a story. Stories are the best kind of essay. Get personal. You don't have to be the best to win a scholarship. Often scholarship committees prefer to see how someone overcame a hardship or succeeded in spite of an obstacle in their path, or what you learned from some of the times that you may have failed. So sharing something about who you are will make the essay more genuine and memorable. And don't forget to ask for feedback. Teachers, counselors, family members, trustworthy friends, they can read the essay and they can provide you feedback, which will make a better end product. So scholarship committees also notice grammatical mistakes. So even tiny errors can distract the reader from the overall message. So before you submit your application, make sure you take time to proofread your essay from beginning to end. Another great way to make sure that your essay flows is to read it out loud. And if you get tired, take a break, but don't throw in the towel. You can come back when you've had some time to refresh your thoughts. So what makes a good essay? The essay should be one that shows your experience, your background, your ambitions, and your personality. It's important, it's an opportunity to make a long and lasting impression. So here's some tips that can help. Be original and genuine. Choose a topic that you really enjoy or you're passionate about, or something that was really meaningful to you in your life. Don't be afraid to say why you deserve the scholarship. Don't put too much information not related to the topic or the scholarship into the essay. Stick with a simple story and message. Don't just say what was done or make a list of accomplishments, but instead talk about what you learned, how it helped others, and the overall experience. Be positive and state how you were inspired to act or move toward a particular major or accomplish a challenge. Now I'm going to summarize some tips and some important things to keep in mind. So again, to refresh you on the tips for a successful scholarship application is get organized, be authentic, know the requirements, include some strong recommendations, and create a lasting impression. Also, meet the deadline. List your important accomplishments first, showcase any honors and awards. Don't rule out smaller scholarships. You know how I told you could sort by the biggest scholarship and apply for those? Well, everybody's applying for the biggest scholarships also. So remember, you're going to have more competition for those. So sometimes the smaller scholarships might be the ones that you can actually get. And if you can, start applying your junior year. So once you win a scholarship, there's some things that you should understand. How are you going to get your money? It kind of depends on the scholarship. The money might be sent directly to the college where it's applied to tuition fees or other amounts you might owe the school. Or sometimes it might be sent directly to you in a check. So the provider should be able to tell you what to expect when it informs you that you've been awarded the scholarship. And if not, make sure you ask. You want to make sure you get your money. So how is the scholarship going to affect any other financial aid? All financial aid added together cannot be more than the cost of attendance. That was those first numbers that I showed you that the school figures out. So you need to inform the school that you've been awarded a scholarship so that the financial aid office can include those funds as part of your total financial aid package. Make sure that you ask the school how they're going to adjust your financial aid. So if the financial aid offer has already met your full cost of attendance before the receipt of the scholarship, the school will need to reduce loans or other types of aid. So if the scholarship's renewable, make sure you understand those requirements as well. Do you need to maintain a certain grade point average? Do you need to maintain a certain enrollment status? Is the scholarship based on your degree or major? And if you change majors, you may lose that scholarship. Do you have to reapply, or is it automatically renewed? These are some important things. So a few more places you can look for information about scholarships. We've got the SallieMae.com scholarship webinar, which is what you're listening to now. And then we've got payingforcollegeresource.com, which has a lot of information on paying for college. There's videos, information, tools, and materials on topics you care about most, including scholarships. Also information about the FAFSA and financial aid offers and student loans and so much more. So I'm going to put my camera back on here and open it up for any questions that you might have. So Ventrice or Josh, did you see any questions that popped up during the presentation?
Last, there were a couple questions in the QA, which I responded to. And can these slides be made available to the group? Was one of the questions.
Yes, I will make sure Josh has a PDF of the slides to share.
Awesome. And then a question that you already answered are these search engines free to use?
They are definitely free to use. That's the best part about them. They save you a lot of time and they cost you nothing to use. So they are free.
So those were the two questions in the Q&A. Thalassa, can you tell a little snippet of the story about the student that paid for her full cost of education with scholarships?
Yeah, so when I was talking about getting matched up with scholarship resources that might be a possibility for you, and I said the next step is that you have to take a little bit of time to actually do the application, write the essays, do the application. When I was working as a financial aid administrator, I had a student that came in one year and she was getting scholarship after scholarship after scholarship. Some of them were larger, you know, $5,000 or so. Some of them were little $100 scholarships, but they kept coming in. And by the time she was ready for school, she must have had 25 scholarships. And she didn't need any other financial aid from the institution because she got so many scholarships. So I called her into my office and I said, how did this happen? How do you get so many scholarships? And she decided, well, I decided to make the summer between junior and senior high of my high school year, I didn't have a job and I decided my job was going to be applying for scholarships. And so all she did that summer was apply for scholarships, and it paid off for her because she applied for so many of them. She ended up getting a whole bunch of scholarships. So it's going to pay off depending on how much time and effort you put into it. I wanted to say one more thing too about the essay. Writing, if you think about, well, I want to apply for 10 scholarships, and then you think, I got to write 10 essays. You may not have to write 10 essays. If you have one good essay, all you need to do is go in and tweak it for each different organization that you're applying for their scholarship, or each different scholarship donor. A lot of times they sort of want a similar thing. And if they sort of want a similar thing, you can take that original scholarship essay and just adjust it based on how the next donor is specifically asking for you to answer the question, or you can take pieces of it. So a lot of times you'll only be required to do one basic essay and then just kind of tweak and adjust it for all of the different scholarships that you're applying for.
Thanks, Thalassa. And we have several questions. The first one is, can freshmen or sophomore, are they able to start applying for scholarships or start the Sallie Mae profile?
So I would say freshmen and sophomores a little bit early. Most of the scholarships have you apply about a year in advance at the most. So you can play around with it if you want. You can play around with the tool, but you won't really. You'll notice you can go ahead and register for the tool. You'll get matched up, but you'll probably notice as you go through it that the scholarships are for the upcoming year or the current year. Most donors, you may have some donors that are willing to say, I'll award you a scholarship and hang on to it for 2 or 3 years till you start college. But I think the majority of donors want that money to go out that upcoming year.
Thank you for that answer. The next question is, do all scholarships require an essay?
No, some scholarships just require you to fill out the application. Other essays, other scholarships might want a copy of your grade transcripts. Others might want recommendation letters. So every single one's going to be different. You might get one that wants everything. It wants your grades, it wants a recommendation letter, it wants an essay, wants everything. You might have others where it's just a check off the box, and if you meet their criteria, you'll get it. So every single one is going to vary quite a bit.
Thank you. The next question is, are 529s considered before financial aid?
529s are considered as part of the expected family contribution. They will take a portion of that and allocate it into the expected family contribution before they calculate needs. So yes, it is savings specifically for college. And so therefore the formula that the federal government puts together does actually take that and apply part of that each year specifically for college.
Yes, thank you. My son is a senior. Is it too late to apply for scholarships?
A senior in high school?
Yes.
Yes, no, absolutely not. In fact, there's probably plenty of scholarships where the deadline has not been missed yet. So I would go in there, get matched up, and then just start checking out the deadline dates. Even though some scholarships you can start applying for up to a year ahead of time, like I mentioned, the deadlines are all over the board. You can apply constantly. You can apply even after you've started school. There's still going to be scholarships out there. So there is never a too late time to start. The time to start is right now.
This one may be a little bit harder to answer, but we'll do our best. Please give examples of awards which are useful for scholarship applications.
So again, I think this is going to, Ventrice, you can tell me if you're interpreting this question the same way I am. So I'm assuming that you're talking about if you've won awards at school, you've placed in something, or you have some honors and types of things that you want to share. It's really going to depend on the scholarship. Some scholarships are looking for you to be a high achiever with a lot of awards and honors and that sort of thing. Other scholarships simply say, you know what, we're going to award this to a first generation student going in nursing, and we don't really care what your grades were or what your awards were. So again, it's going to be very unique to each scholarship.
Yep, and that was my interpretation as well. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we didn't answer that, you can expound on it in the chat.
Any advice on getting best recommendation letters for scholarships?
Yeah. So I talked a little bit about that, but the best recommendations that you can get would be for people who really have an ability to, first of all, be objective. So a teacher who has seen you perform well in a class, if you're involved in sports or choir or a club, there may be a teacher or a leader who sort of sees you and what you can do in those kind of areas. If you belong to a church and somebody there knows you really well, your pastor, your minister, your priest knows you well, that might be somebody that's good. Maybe someone in the community, maybe you've done some volunteer work in the community and there's somebody in the community or a community organization that knows you. So just be thinking about what you've done in your life and who you've connected with that would be able to be a good reference for you. And then don't be afraid to just go ask them. Say, hey, I'm applying for this scholarship, and I know that I worked with you on this committee and we got a lot accomplished, or I worked with you on this volunteer thing and we got a lot accomplished. Would you be willing to write a recommendation letter for me for this scholarship? And I think you might be surprised. I think people oftentimes are quite honored to be able to do that for students. Thank you.
Another question is, how is the expected family contribution calculated?
That's the answer that takes a whole presentation in and of itself. It's a federal formula. It has been used for over 40 years and morphed over time. It basically takes into consideration everything from your income to your assets, to your family size, to number of people in college. to the age of your parents. There are so many things and so many tables that are used in that formula, but the intent of it, the most important thing for you to sort of recognize about the expected family contribution is the intent of it isn't necessarily to give what you might consider a realistic number of what you can contribute to college. The intent of the formula is to compare you with everybody else applying for financial aid and kind of put everybody on equal ground and say, this person truly is this much stronger financially than this other person that's applying. And they have to have a way to sort of numerically rank you in terms of your eligibility to, or your ability to pay for college based on your family's financial strength. So when you get that expected family contribution, you may or may not agree with it, but understand that it's not really a realistic dollar. It's more like just a way to rank you compared to everybody else that's applying for financial aid.
I think it's important too, Thalassa, to point out that in the year 2023, 2024, that expected family contribution, so the EFC, it will change to what's called the Student Aid Index.
Correct.
Go along in these presentations, we'll keep our consumers updated, but you may see some language changes as we move along.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty much going to be sort of using the same purpose, but now they're going to call it a student aid index because that is really more what it is than a expected family contribution.
So
it's actually a better name for it. Yeah, sorry, Ventrice.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm sorry. You answered this question earlier, but just in case someone missed it, how does the 529 affect the expected family contribution?
Yeah, so the 529 is part of what would be worked into the formula. And I think I mentioned that before. It is specifically a savings plan for college. And so it must be utilized in the formula. They don't take it dollar to dollar. They take a portion of it, percentage of it. And I don't know what that percentage is because again, it's based on so many different factors. It could be a different percentage for one person than another, but they will be using that, including that as part of the family resources.
The next question is, can a student in their third or last year of college still apply for scholarships?
Yes, you can apply for scholarships at any point in time. If you're waiting until your fourth year and you're already in it, there's probably you've missed the deadline on a lot of it, but there's always those little small scholarships out there that didn't get awarded to someone that might be available. If you're just getting ready to go into your senior year, there's still scholarships that are available that have not been awarded for the upcoming year. So I would never count yourself out at any point in time. There's always scholarships out there if you're willing to go through the process, look for them. There's still going to be some out there for you.
So we didn't touch on this in the presentation, but someone asked about student loan rates. I'm assuming that's what this question is. Can we just touch a little bit on federal direct loans and then private education loans and the rates?
Sure. So when you get financial aid, a lot of students will have to take out a student loan as a part of their financial aid package, particularly if you're going to school full-time, you're living on campus or off campus with an apartment. So you've got that cost of attendance, you've got living expenses. And oftentimes most schools are not able to fill your full financial need with free money. So you will likely be seeing, many of you will be seeing student loans. The first student loan to be paying attention to are the federal direct loans to students. This would be the direct subsidized loan and the direct unsubsidized loan. These are very low interest loans that can be deferred during school, during the whole entire time that you're in school. And they do have a very small origination fee, but the rates are excellent. The terms are excellent. You have a lot of repayment options available to you. So these should be the first type of loan that you say, I'm okay getting a federal direct subsidized student loan, federal direct unsubsidized student loan. With the unsubsidized student loan versus the subsidized, the subsidized loan, the government is subsidizing the interest while you're in school. So you're not making any payments and the government's paying your interest for you. For the unsubsidized loan, that loan will be accruing interest while you're in school, which will be capitalized before you go into repayment. Everybody wants the subsidized, but you have to have financial need to get the subsidized, but anyone can borrow an unsubsidized loan. Then there's also private loans for students. And these loans, Sallie Mae being one of the loan providers, and we have a program through Coast, these are more for filling the gap. So once you've taken a look at all the free money that you can get, and you've looked at your eligibility for the subsidized or unsubsidized loans, you can take a look at a private student loan to fill the gap. And a private student loan is going to be credit-based. So it doesn't necessarily have the same need criteria or application criteria. It's going to be based on, will you qualify, or will you bring in a cosigner that will help you qualify to get that loan to fill the gap. They are a little bit more flexible in terms of they have variable rates and fixed rates. They've got different kinds of repayment plans while you're in school. They have a lot fewer opportunities for repayment options at the back end. So that's sort of the difference between private loans and federal loans. And then there's parent loans as well. And there's both private and federal parent loans. So I know it's a little bit hard to talk about these without having, some slides to look at or referral points, but you can do your research. There's a lot of information on Sallie Mae's website, our Paying for College resource, on all of these different types of loans. Thank you.
Is the community college enrollment fee paid for during the first 2 years?
Yes, California now has I guess it's the Promise program, which makes community college free for everybody for the first 2 years of attendance, no fees.
Thank you. And then can scholarships be used to pay non-residence fees?
Yes, scholarships absolutely can be used to pay non-resident fees. There may be some that are California specific that you can't take out of state. There might be some that say, oh, we've got a specific thing we want you to use this for, it's for books or it's for housing. But most of them will pay for anything that is within your cost of attendance at the school.
There are no more questions.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can think of that I didn't add today, Ventris, that might be useful?
Nope, you did a great job. The only thing I had written down, you already covered, and that was the difference between a one-time scholarship versus a renewable scholarship, but you covered that well. Okay, great. All right, well, I think, I don't know if, let me get it to to get this to a disclaimer page that you have to see for a few seconds, but I'll turn it back over to Josh to close for any closing comments.
Thank you so much, Thalassa and Ventris. A lot of great information and a lot of good questions from everyone. Thank you for asking all those great questions. This is a lot of great info. I every time I see a presentation that I've seen before, I still learn something new. So that's definitely the case today.
Absolutely.
But, I just want to mention that a few things. First, Thalassa, if you could put your contact information into the chat, that would be great in case anyone would like to contact you directly. And I also in the chat have incorporated a few different resources. We have, our student loan page on the Calcos website that I've put up there for you. And also we have a financial wellness portal powered by Enrich that has a lot of tools and resources, videos, articles, courses, all kinds of great things you can take on student loans or any other topics that are financially related. So it's all free. So please feel free to go to that link there that I put in the chat and check it out. And also a recording recording of today's sessions will be on our YouTube page coming up here in the next few days. So once we have the recording all set to go, we'll post that and then you can go back in and take a look at it. So you don't have to worry about having to trying to get the presentation necessarily. You can still ask for it if you'd like, but otherwise the recording will be there for you as well. All right, so with that, I just want to thank Thalassa and Ventris so much for presenting today. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to CalCoast, to myself, to Thalassa. Otherwise, we appreciate you joining us today, and we will see you for our next webinar coming up next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.